The Redeemer has risen.
Hey, what is up guys? I just want to do a quick announcement first before we start this video because Pan is going to be hosting a 2v2 tournament featuring some awesome new, very high quality maps in them. He spent a lot of time on those maps and it's a tournament for him to showcase his work, and they are really, really good maps. So I recommend that you all go and sign up to it. There will be 4 random cash prizes for participants that decide to play in that event. Also, he guarantees the usual no nonsense. And yet the event will be hosted on the 27th of February. You can sign up on Command Post. I'll leave the link to download Command Post in the video description. So yeah, guys, that's going to be all. Hey, what is up guys? Marsley here, back to do a 1.03 commentary. I'm going to cast some of the series of this tournament. I want to go and see if there has been any changes since the last tournaments I've casted, which have been constant GDI mirrors. Anyways, the first 2 participants of the day is going to be Shock Trepid and Futurama. Futurama, I could already guess, he's going to be up here playing as the Scrin faction, and of course I have my 4K mod on, so you get to witness it in all its glory. 4K terrain won't be a thing, unfortunately. That requires a bit more technical editing. It's complicated, all right? It's complicated. But yeah, down here in the bottom will be Shock Trepid as the red Vanilla Nod. So gonna stick with Vanilla Nod is Shock Trepid. And of course this MCV, I actually redid the pattern on top of this MCV. A lot of things I did, I put new decals on there. The front has a new decal. It's been tidied up a lot, and that goes with a lot of these structures here. But yeah, I'll try and not zoom in and out of everything, but it's a good chance to showcase what has been changed. And I should have put my phone on mute actually before I started this. There we go. Anyways, 1.03 is the patch. Whatever version it is probably 150th version. I kind of lost count, guys. CGF updates this patch on a weekly basis, so who knows what the meta is. I'm assuming that GDI got some changes as they were constantly winning matches. Their tier 1 was really, really powerful. I think the missile speed is to blame, the projectile speed that is. I feel that contributed to GDI's success, as well as their options. They were just really strong. Pitballs were buffed, Orcas for sure were buffed massively. Now no one's bothering to go for any rushes in this game. How we do see Shock Trepid with the Seekers gonna do a 1.02 strategy, which is to try and punish your opponent's 3rd rev. I think this sort of tactic will be less viable though, just because refineries take a little less time to build. So I expect Shock to... he's going for 2 war factories. I thought he would have just gone for a triple rev. Anyway, buggies don't do nearly as much to Seekers in this patch, so these will only be good for tanking damage and killing disintegrators. Killing disins is definitely going to be needed because disins are faster, thus more effective. Disins get an upgrade as well. Remains to be seen if we'll see that. There's no visual difference though when you upgrade the disins. It's the same effect. Something that CGF could have maybe changed. Though yeah, the bikes do have a tint on them now. The player color is on the bike more, so you can see whose bike is whose. Especially useful in those red versus purple nod mirrors. A couple of disins coming out though, and I expect Shock Trepid to possibly tech up to Avatar Inf. That's really the strategy that is really effective on 1.034 nod. Scorp tank spam not that great because they cost $900, thus they take 9 seconds to train from the war factory. It's actually more than 9 seconds, guys, because the hatch has to open. The hatch opens and then the Scorpion tank comes out. That's not the case for Scrin. So Scrin Seekers, although they take 8 seconds to build, On the War Factory, there's no delay, so they take the least amount of time to train. But yeah, Seekers are very good in this patch. Pretty oppressive, I would say. A little reverse mood bug there happening. Do have the Kane edition skins on. These tanks will be driven back. Future Armor bleeding a bit too much here. He's not getting the damage done what he really needs, is he? And I feel that probably put him behind. He could have rushed in an engineer, perhaps taken this tower over since he's Traveler 59. I didn't mention that, but yeah, he is certainly Traveler 59 in this game. The disintegrators don't give it away, as you can see. CGF told me I can fix this somehow, but I don't recall what he said. Should not be a thing though, should it? This text, when you hover over it. That's been like that since the last 5 updates, so I expect he has some explaining to do there. I did delete my 1.03 folder as well. Okay, so cultists, they seem a little slower now. Those buggies will make quick work of them, though. Around the warp sphere, cultists are particularly hard to destroy because the infantry do get healed by this. But yeah, cultists will be going down. The Scorpion tanks are looking to overwhelm this base. There's quite a number of tanks here. Does Future Armor have a tier 3? No, he doesn't. However, he is losing harvesters. We scroll to the bottom of the map here. We can see that there are disintegrators doing some damage. Now, one thing I forgot to mention is I have a 4K UI, guys. That is right, there is a UI overlay. And it is 4K. Unfortunately, we can't implement it into the game as much as I'd like to. But the most I can do with what I have is just use it for commentaries. I've also removed this bottom bar as well. You can still see the things appear on this UI bar, but yeah, for commentaries, I feel that you don't really need that there at all. It's just more space to put things like, you know, a scoreboard. And I'm hoping that this 60 FPS effect works. I wanted to try it. That's why I don't have a webcam, because using the webcam along with that does not work. So Future Armor is going to fight till the last buzzer. He's not going to give this one in, though. It's looking incredibly dire, though, isn't it, for Future Armor? He doesn't have a tier 3, though. Granted, shock troopers are pretty good now against scorpions, because scorps take crush damage, much like when they crush disintegrators, and it's a pretty significant amount of damage at that. Cultists will be doing some damage here, and the buggies, will they get cleaned up? It may be best to just go in for a couple of disintegrators. This MCV is getting dangerously close. It's actually going to lose this MCV. Shock, what are you doing? Shock just gifted his MCV. This was an unexpected result here. He should have just deployed that, man. Wow, does Shock have anything behind this? He's got eco. So does Future Armor. But he's getting his portals camped now. I'm surprised with all those shock troopers he wasn't able to clean up these buggies. Photon cannons may be the way forward at this point. But yeah, buggies have received what looks like a considerable anti-infantry buff in 1.03. Photon cannons is going to be the name of the game, though, for Future Armor, as well as reclaiming the defensive tower. Can't remember if CGF said he nerfed the buggy health, but those are still pretty good meat shields, as they did just tank 2 defensive tower shots, which is really good. Now, this is going to delay Shock Tripper a little bit because he lost his NCV, so I'm expecting he's probably rebuilding one now. How many war factories does he have, though? He's only got 2. And Future Armor deciding to go for the dev tanks now. Now, this could be weird for you guys, seeing a dev tank. This is the only thing, by the way, which I haven't made 4K. Because I just don't like the idea of this for Traveler. But yeah, I will probably have to do that for CGF at one point. You know, clicking everything else, you can see that the portrait is 4K. There's a significant upscale on everything. And yeah, zooming in as well on the units, there is a lot more detail. Of course, this is the Kane edition skins. I do have the normal ones as well, which I'm going to include, but this is just to really showcase what I've been doing in the last few months. This drone ship will probably be going down here. Deciding not to go for the MCV is probably a good idea for Shock Trooper, because that would have just allowed Futurama to skyrocket ahead with the refineries, which are cheaper, and that's going to be it. Futurama throws it in. So I guess panic disintegrators now not really a thing. Descents seem to fall quickly to buggies, and yeah, it's harder, I guess, for Traveller to come through from those situations now. But despite losing the MCV there, Shock Trooper does take that one. So Futurama down in this tournament, and I believe he was the favorite to take it as well. But he's going to be down 0-1, and we're going to go on to the next game. Alright guys, this is going to be game number 2, and I was wondering for a moment, did I just cast the first game of this series? And of course we did, because the second map will be Tournament Highlands, Futurama's favorite map. He's most confident on this map. It's either this one or Pipeline Problems. But yeah, Tiberium, sorry, not Tiberium, I'm looking at the Tiberium here. By the way guys, the Tiberium has been fixed for NVIDIA, AMD, Intel, because there was a bug with the newest, well I say new, but drivers since 2010. There was a bug with that, and this fix goes to Lauren, aka Darth Jane. Found out that the problem which was causing the Tiberium to not appear the way it should, the way the developers intended. So full credit to Lauren for fixing this bug and making Tiberium look super awesome. And it will be included in my mod for all you guys interested. But yeah, I didn't really introduce the players here. We have Shock Trooper on the right as the Trana 59, and his opponent whopping over to the left side of the map. We can see as the Cyan GDI is going to be Futurama. On the right side we see the disintegrators for Shock going to take out the Spike. And yeah, I've done things with this mod like redraw these lines here, the stripes in particular. There was orange stripes on the GDI buildings which I had to remove. Clone stamp tool, patch tool, you know, all that sort of thing. If you guys know Photoshop, that's what happened. That's what I was doing with all of the GDI units. But yeah, I thought it was worth it. They look a lot better now, especially when zoomed in and at 4K resolution. In fact, I cannot play this game anymore without my mod. APC will scare away these descents. APC is a little quicker now. I found these to be extremely effective as well at killing bikes and buggies when I played Bike Rush that one tournament. But wow, interesting refinery placement here for Shock. That's interesting. Of course, you don't really need to spread your refineries against GDI. Only enough so that the Firehawks can't come in and, you know, force fire between both structures, destroy both. Is there any engineering hit? No, there isn't. That's just a rifle. Expansions do get up sooner on this patch just because of those refs. Looks like Shock Trevor's going to take this Tiberium, though he's going to be most disappointed to see that Futurama's there and going to pull back with his Harvester. Maybe he feels there's Seekers behind this, but the Seekers are in fact going the other way, and Shock's going to take 2 full loads of blue Tiberium. Wow, Futurama really dropping the ball here. That's going to really be quite an issue, I expect. Though, as mentioned in that first game, I don't think that the Seeker push is going to be nearly as effective because of the refineries. But we're going to see what Shock can do. He can put repair drones down and make this push stronger, though the Pred tanks are out in force. I expect any moment now a War Factory to come down. The drones is a little bit late, so this attack looks like will be thwarted pretty quickly. Even the Seekers getting torn up on the reinforcement Seekers not doing too well there. And not even a single Harvester will go down. Looks like that damage was distributed between those two. And I still think that Shock Trooper is in a good position though, because he did take the Tiberium. the blue tip that is, and he did get a refinery down as well. But Futurama is probably going to tech up to tier 3 for Firehawks. That's really the name of the game for the GDIs against Skrins. If you want to win, you just go quick tech Firehawk and bomb the Skrin tier 3. Just because Skrin rely on that tech so much, they have the phase field at tier 3, the shields for the tripods at tier 3. Tripods really is Skrin's only tank that can really absorb a lot of damage. You really can't contend with GDI railguns and not avatars without the tripods or planetary assault carriers, so that's why Skrin are particularly vulnerable. Having said that, the other factions are as well, but not nearly as much. You know, Nod have Bike Buggy, which when upgraded with Tibcore can be pretty lethal even against a fully teched up GDI. Nod as well with the laser capacitors, that can be especially good in the late game. But this is going to just contain Shock Tripper, these Preds and APCs. I'm wondering what Shock Tripper's doing now. He's going for infantry and Devourer tanks, interestingly. Don't know what these are called. There's no name here for them. But nonetheless, he can't charge with those devs, which is weird. Anti-air, I guess he's going to rely on the plasma disc launchers. Those have anti-air capability. Ravager squads as well can also shoot air. So let's see how good these units are here. The hammerheads are out. Wow. Futurama deciding to go for the hammerheads. The gunwalkers need to be here. He's only made 1 or 2. Has shock experimenting in this game with the dev tanks, not turning out too good. I think these were added in just to give Traveler another option at countering flame tank rushes, but I don't really feel they needed them. Looks like Shock's drone ship is deployed, so I guess we're going to see some plasma missile batteries coming down for anti-air. That should make quick work of the hammerheads. MCVs in jeopardy. There's no tier 3, so no sonic emitters will be coming down. Hammerheads getting torn up. Pred tanks are pretty vulnerable to cultists if this MCV goes down, because then he won't be able to place down watchtowers on the front line as he's doing right now. But I think Shock just needs to focus on building those plasma missile batteries, because if he can kill the hammerheads, then he can transition back into those cultists. Cultists rolling in. I'm almost certain those have had a small speed nerf. And the dev tanks are really causing tons of damage here. Yeah, those devs, man, they're just doing so much damage. The Pred tanks are probably not going to be able to engage them either, just because the devs have a really good kiting ability. They can outrange most tanks. A couple corruptors would be good as well, just so you can heal those devs. But the Pred tanks are being pushed back, something that you rarely see. But we're seeing it right here. And what's this down here? A couple hammerheads. Those are going to pick off some harvesters. That's probably going to be bad news. Stasis chamber in sight though. Futurama will be destroying that one, leaving the harvester as well to live. So I don't think that was worth it necessarily. MCV does go down. Futurama does fall in this game. Wow. I thought with those weird dev, I don't want to call them dev tanks because Devourer tank implies that it, you know, devours something. It consumes Tiberium, but those don't. Nonetheless, they were really effective there. So I wonder if they're better in stats compared to 1.02 plus. Nonetheless, a nice, interesting strategy from Shock Trepid does take Futurama 2 games to nothing, which is surprising. I wasn't expecting that outcome. Alright guys, game number 3 brings us on to Tournament Dust Bowl No Poker Edition. I love this map for its mini-map. As you can see, it's easy to see units on because it's a solid color. There's only 2-3 colors on it. It's a nice design, I think. It's reminiscent of Red Alert 3 mini-maps, but still maintains the art style of Kane's Wrath. And Yeah, Future Armor up here is down currently 2-0, so he needs to bring this series back. This is the quarterfinals, so it's weird having a quarterfinals that is a best of 5. But yeah, it is currently 2-0 for Shock Tripit, and he is at match point in this series. Future Armor up here going to be going with the Cyan GDI, as we come to expect from Future Armor. And judging from the minimap, we can see Descent squad, so it's going to be a Scrin faction from Shock. I wonder if he has picked Traveler 59 once again, though these Descents just move so fast by default that I don't think it really warrants the upgrade for the early game rush. Rifles handily take out Descents now, don't they? That is such a struggle in 1.02. But I expect this spike to live. You can see up here there's like a rifle squad's going to respond to that. Shock doing the smart thing, forcing Future Armor to overspend while he just pushes back with the Descents for maybe a sneak attack later on, which is possible. He could maybe sneak these around, take out the spike later when Future Armor has forgot about that. But nice recon though from Future Armor. He's doing a good job scouting the left flank, because occasionally when you see so few Descents, that could mean that there is another group of them on the other side. But Shock deciding to just make one. He's going to go underway with an expansion now. The drone ship. Those dots there are a lot cleaner than the original, guys, I'll tell you that much. One thing I love about 1.03 is the fact that, you know, it's the eco is much more smooth. You know, you don't have to store on funds all the time, which is the case in 1.02, which slows down the match in the beginning. But I think Shock's going to be quite happy with the early game thus far. He's been able to force tons of rifles out. He's probably even going to get a refinery down quicker. But instead deciding to go for Seekers, so he's going to go for a push once again. But this is Tournament Dust Bowl, and I've never really seen a push of this nature work on this map, just because your opponent doesn't have to go very far with his construction yard to expand. That means he's going to get a war factory down as well a lot quicker, even quicker than that last match, guys. But it's going to be really hard, I guess, for Shock to pull this one off. I'll be amazed if he does. This is Future Armor we're talking about here. This is one of the best Kane players in the game currently. And he's making it work, it seems like. Seekers just may have such a significant stat boost now that it's making it a viable option. Rifle standing in Tiberium over there. But wow, I really wasn't expecting this. Of course, both sides have repairs. Nice micro from Shock, keeping his forces alive. And I don't know how he's going to clean this one up. The Seeker drones seem to still last forever. But yeah, they will finally get dealt with now. But that was such a huge delay on the second refinery for Future Armor. I don't think he's been harvesting here either. So I think Shock Tripit came out ahead there, though there is certainly an army advantage for Future Armor with that engagement. So if he pushes now with a couple APCs anticipating Descents as a response, then, you know, he would be doing some pretty major damage. Force out Future Armor or Shock Tripper to use his stasis shield early, which is always a good thing because the cooldown on that is pretty huge. Going for missiles, which is interesting. By the way, guys, Tier 2 doesn't have Buzzer Swarm anymore. You need to construct a Tier 3 to utilize the Buzzer Swarm support power for Scrin. So it's no longer the case that you can just, you know, build a Tier 2 and just Buzzer Swarm these infantry units. You need to build units now, which is a real shocker, I know, but Scrin need to make Gunwalkers or Buzzers. Ravagers as well are very, very good at killing infantry in this patch. And I really hope that my 60 FPS is going smooth. And are these upgraded with composite armor? Yeah, they are. I don't know if the missile squads are supposed to look like that when upgraded. I don't know. Nonetheless, they look cool. Thought that was the Gunwalker going elite there, but it's just the buzzer. What is Shock doing currently? He's going for a tier 3, already purchasing an upgrade, potentially shard launchers, because he expects Firehawks. Firehawks is always really at the top of your mind as a Scrin player, just because of how lethal they can be. Your best option against them if you lose your tech is just to go Storm Riders, which I know is madness because the Firehawks are one of the best anti-air units in the game, but at least they're not bombing your base. They have to deal with the Storm Riders first, and that's, in many cases, the Storm Riders trade pretty effectively against the Firehawks. But yeah, these tripods will be here ready to meet the Prez. The Prez could have came sooner, I feel, for Futurama, but there is infantry coming now, which will be dealt with, I guess. Seekers pushing out as well. Those are upgraded with shard launchers. Huge army over here though. Devastator warships, I guess, is on the cards for Shock. He can probably put down the swarm support power now. Nice micro though. Those buzzers from the buzzer hive seem to move quicker. They look a little better than before. Tripods pushing in too far on the left side. That husk may want to get taken out quickly. But he only loses one single tripod shock there, so that's not too bad. Not a good reverse move bug to see though. That could punish Futurama if Shock's paying attention. Those Shock's probably focusing on his Seekers, which have been doing damage up here. It doesn't look like any Harvesters were destroyed. Futurama getting an expansion fully developed here on the left side of the map. Continuing to spam infantry. So this game's looking really good for Futurama currently. He's got 2 refineries on that left side. Though one thing has to be mentioned, Futurama is only on tier 2 tech, so there is definitely a tech disadvantage for Futurama, though he is GDI and they don't really need it as much as mentioned in that last game. But against Devastator warships with these shields, he really needs to consider teching up soon to get those Firehawks out. Seekers still causing problems and mischief in the back here. That's just going to distract Futurama a little bit. Devastator warships, tripods, trying to poke in and do damage. These units are kind of scattered. His army is really scattered, is it? Nice little force up here though for Futurama, waiting for Shock to push out with his army. No Q moves happening today though for Shock. And what a buzzer swarm, look at that there. You can see why CGF decided it's a good idea to make that a tier 3 support power. Though there is unfortunately not much anti-infantry left. There is actually 2 Devastator warships back here, so I guess he's fine. And that infantry force just got totally destroyed. What is Charles talking about? Charles keeps saying that Scrin have nothing. That army just got totally destroyed, man. Charles, this Scrin army, it's dying now. But he only needed some gunwalkers. Does use the phase field, which, you know, when things get rough you can always do that as the Scrin refinery gets taken out as well. So nice job, I guess. Takes out a fair portion of the army. He's now aware is Shock Trepid of the Hammerhead threat. The Preds will be destroyed as well, so that's great. Apologies for my phone, guys. I should have muted that, but I will after this game. Spike going down, so that's Shock's eco damage slightly, though I don't think it really affects Scrin that much because they do have growth accelerators, Ichor Seed, hell, even Overlord's Wrath as well, which is really good for the late game. And I hope you guys are enjoying this 4K. I am recording 30 FPS 4K, and then I'm using something called optical flow to make the video appear smooth. That is if it hasn't been bugging in my video editor. So it remains to be seen if we have that or not in this video, but I think I'm just going to put all of these games and series into a singular video, or maybe two if the semis drag on too long. But Ravagers, wow, that's really an interesting unit in this patch. They shoot air, which I don't know about you guys, but I have nostalgia from 1.0, the first patch of this game where they could also shoot air in the hexapod. I don't know why they removed that. It seemed okay to me. Ravagers since were never seen garrisoned in the hexa. I think it was really the corruptor heal rate that was the issue. But yeah, those gunwalkers are just tearing apart these hammerheads, and that's going to be GG. Futurama going down 3-0 there. So guys, the complete opposite happened. We're only one series into this tournament, and look how much the meta has evolved in that small space of time. Looks like GDI has received a ton of changes. They don't seem nearly as oppressive as before. Shock Trepid showing us the ways with the Skrins and the Trav 39s. And I've got to congratulate Shock Trepid there. He did a fine job. He's going to be going into the semi-finals. And we're going to go ahead and cast that one right now. So yeah, guys, stick around. Alright guys, and welcome back to the semi-finals. I'm going to be doing one of the semi-finals today, so I'm going to be cherry picking this particular one because it most interests me. Anyways, it's going to be between Shock Trepid and Lumos. We can see, I assume this is, I'm not going to assume anything actually. Who is this? It's going to be Lumos, a guy who I quite frankly have not seen in Kane's Wrath play ever before, so this is why this is a particularly interesting matchup for me. Anyways, he's going to be Blackhand. The first map will be Tournament Arena, and may I remind you guys, we are on 1.03, so much more like Tiberium Wars because of the eco difference. Shock Trepid going to be down here as Traveler 59, so we've seen him play Traveler 59 quite a lot recently. Cabal's only 3 members when you draft them, so you probably want to just make a hand the nod and just train a couple Cabals. I assume that Shock picked his faction, so I'm a little surprised that Lumos didn't make any effort to anti-scout. I have heard good things about this player in Tiberium Wars. He is, I would say, probably near expert level in that game, though don't quote me on that. I've just heard rumblings that he's really good at that game. Nice work though, drawing him into the tower, though there is a couple buzzers here which will dispose of this. Another bunker has been garrisoned on the right hand side. That's interesting. Lumos decided to put the garrisons, the Cabals in the garrisons instead of try and anti-scout. So maybe he knew that this was coming. Maybe these guys play a lot. This Russian community is quite close. They communicate with one another on Discord. They have their own community. Is this power plant upgraded? I can barely tell for the tree. Man, not intentional or anything, but you would never notice that. There's an upgrade on that power plant right there. Flame tank was stalled, which is never a good thing, especially in 1.03 where you really need this to do damage now. I don't think Shock Trepid is going to respond so soon to this. Yeah, he's making Seekers. Reckoner does make it into the base, however, it is just a singular Black Hand squad here, and look at that decal, man. Brand new decal on that Reckoner. But yeah, the tier 2 goes down, so no dev tanks for you, Shock. No, you're gonna have to go for Seekers. Photon cannons are really good as well. They don't have as much discs in the clip, but they shoot like twice as fast. So I'd say they're noticeably better than 1.02. These trees, man, they keep obscuring the view of the buildings. One thing I will say, which I found recently, is if you decoy army attack bikes, the decoys crush trees and obstacles on the map. But if you decoy a scorpion tank, it does nothing. So I think there's some inconsistencies there. So guys, if you want to crush a bunch of trees, let's say you've got a plan to sneak in stealth tanks, you don't want your opponent to see the tree, it's falling down, you just decoy your bikes. Anyway, Flame tank makes its way into the base. However, this will be grabbed by the cultists. So that's going to be a flame tank now. Going to Lumos. Lumos going to be up against cultists, going to be up against flame tanks. Buggies do not counter Seekers anymore. So this is a very potent combination. He's going to go double war factory. He's going Scorpion tanks now. I like this choice. Dozer Blades will not make it so the Scorps are immune to Descents when crushing. That's one change that I'm not 100% convinced on, but hey, I have really got to play this patch more to give my definitive opinions on what I think is good and bad. Flame tank does get cleaned up. I think that was a bit of a waste. Could have gone in with his army, used that as a meat shield. No advanced articulators online so far for our buddy Shock Trepid over here. Those move incredibly slowly without that upgrade. Shock getting the Dozer Blades, I assume that's what that was for. You don't get really much either for selling your tier 2 as Black Hands, so maybe it's not worth selling that. You will get a Black Hand squad though, which are really meaty and do loads of damage. Cultists will be grabbing those tanks. Devour a tank here as well. Initiator, there we go. For some reason, last time we played, guys, this came up with some random name, but it's called the Initiator. Interesting. Wonder where CGF got that idea from. Nonetheless, I will be having to upscale that one. You guys, I'm not sure if you can notice the difference in the portraits and the units. Of course, I'd have to zoom in to the units and stuff just so you can see the detail more, but it's mainly the colors that you see right in this mod. The terrain textures I wish I could do, but that's going to require close collaboration with CGF and maybe Lauren as well, if that is a thing. I simply do not possess the technical knowledge to do that. Initiators will be initiators, and yeah, initiators will be falling. Commentate it properly, Leave. Initiator. Those are going down. So maybe not the best thing to train. I'm not going to say anything, guys. I'm not going to speak my mind. But I don't know if these crush infantry. I suppose what you could do is you could make them not crush infantry for trap. They can't charge, which I guess is already a disadvantage, but they cost less in this patch. Anyway, Lumos is totally ripping Shock a new one here. I think Shock is dead. He's got 3-4 initiators. His eco is in tatters. However, Lumos hasn't got an MCV. He's pulling back to base without an MCV here. Huh. That MCV of Shock was in jeopardy there. He could have just gone in. Lumos could have killed that. And look at those dots right there, guys. It's no longer a miss as it was before. The harvesters and such there as well. Buggy's cleaning up the scouts. I'm not sure if Shock Trepid's aware that he is being all in. He does have a nerve center, so you can use the Tiberium vibration scan to reveal if there is a expansion refinery for Lumos, but there is in fact none. Anyways, tons of Scorps. May want to add a few more buggies in there though. I think that Shock, if he identifies, could go for a bunch of disintegrators. Dozer Blades aren't really gonna stop that. They do decrease the damage taken, but they don't make them immune. You can't do what you did before, which was just crush a million Descents and not take any damage. But the initiators are coming in. Way too many Scorpion tanks though. These are going to get destroyed. He does stop for a moment, which is a huge mistake, because they will be pretty useless otherwise. Actually, where's the portal man? If he gets a portal down here, then he can make those Descents as mentioned. If his micro's sick, he can kill the buggies and then lay waste on these tanks. But yeah, the eco's going down, and that's really going to be Shock Trepid. His economy's dead. He's going to have no production. That's GG. So Lumos surprisingly taking that first game there. So I do not regret one for one moment. casting this series, because these two I haven't really seen much of, nor have you guys. In fact, I don't think Lumos has received ever a cast on Kane's Wrath. So, interesting game, and that one goes to Lumos. Alright guys, this is going to be a game number 2, which brings us to Tournament Tower. Only a Tib Wars player would pick this map. Tournament Tower in Tiberium Wars, significantly better than it is in Kane's Wrath. So I've been told. In Kane's Wrath, you don't see it too often, because if you go for 3 refineries and your opponent goes double war factory, you lose the game instantly. There's a lot of build order poker involved, and it's pretty one-dimensional, very linear. But we do have Lumos on the left-hand side, once again playing as Blackhand. Sorry, no, he's going for Nod this time. We did just see him call in the shadow teams, though he may be unaware that there is a delay before they spawn in. So he's maybe looking to get the power plant, cancel the war factory. However, the refineries cost less, so this probably may not work. I don't know if he's had practice beforehand to see if the timing works or not, but we're going to go find out how prepared Lumos was. If he can find this power plant, then that's going to be great. The refinery war factory is actually going to be cancelled here. Lumos scores the power plant, and as you can see, Shock Triplet over here, the right Shroud 59 will be going for Disintegrators. He's going to force fire the ground. Not sure if Lumos caught wind of that. If he does, then he's going to pick up the War Factory and kill the Disintegrators. He's moving back now with his shadow teams, so he sniffs something coming. Looks like he's caught wind of this. He's moving in with the Disintegrators. He's very much aware of what's coming right now. Putting down the Shroud turret may be a bit of a waste of money, but these Disins will be getting cleaned up relatively quickly and easily. Shadow teams not bugged in this patch either, so those will be going down very, very easily and promptly. I want to get off the Tiberium field though, because those do take Tiberium exposure. Nice opening from Lumos though in this game. Interesting. Cancels the War Factory. Didn't think it was possible. Didn't think that was possible, guys. Interesting opening for sure. And I am wondering, did I upscale this screen logo here? Yeah, I did. Okay, so you're going to move back in with these shadow teams. It is the battle of the Tib Wars players, but we're on Kane's Wrath, guys. You may not think that because of the colors and everything, which I've edited. The Tiberium as well. It just looks so much better now, doesn't it? Can't wait for you guys to install and download this mod. I will finish it very soon, guys, so stay tuned for that. This looks sharper than usual. I can't remember if I did that. I don't think I did though. Nonetheless, Lumos, he's going to be recovering over here on the left. Going to get 5 and 2 relatively quickly. Shock Tripper, on the other hand, he is ahead in eco, though I guess he's still trying to contend with these shadow teams. If he wants a quick way of dealing with these, he could just build a tier 2 and buzzer swarm them. That's one reliable counter to this. They're going to get cleaned up now, though. Actually, nice micro from Lumos. This guy, if he plays Kane's Wrath, will probably be quite a formidable opponent. I mean, his micro, his game awareness seems to be really on point. And we should be packing up for the expand, going for a tier 2. Maybe he's doing the same strategy as he did last game, 2 war factories with the Dozer Blaze, maybe move in with his MCB for those Shredder turrets to support anti-infantry, kind of the Achilles heel of Nod, so, though maybe not as much in this patch because of the improved buggies. Does have shadow teams remaining, guys, so these, when kept alive, can still be a menace. They can snipe power plants and stuff. Seekers will find the flame tank, and he puts down the reconstruction drones here, which is interesting. I don't know why he would do that, because that's going to just, the flame tank's going to nullify the lightning spike, though. With the flame tank going down, he may decide, you know what, I'm going to put down this lightning spike. Shadow teams on the top. Mini-maps, though, in these games, pretty terrible. The UI around the mini-map, though, guys, I think you will admit it is significantly better. Or I hope you guys have noticed so far that there is a difference with the UI. The resolution is just way more now. Expansions going up on the right hand side for Shock Tripper, and this push will be stopped in its tracks. He's going to get a refinery down, is Lumos currently. Nice pulling back with that tank. The War Factory, the micro is really sick here. Nice work. Shadow teams in the back of the base for Lumos, and he's going to pick off a power plant. Shock leaving this area, going to let that one fall. The Shadow Teams pick up yet another kill. Probably could go and snipe that buzzer if he so chooses. Seekers will try and pursue that one down. Lumos getting an expansion down. Cultists on the field now. They're really a menace. He's going to have to make buggies now to deal with those. Shock is well ahead in this game currently. He's got an expansion. He's going for Cultists. Not going for the fast legs upgrade, which could be a major deal. How is Lumos going to contend with these Cultists? I mean, he could just snipe them with his Shadow Teams. His Shadow Teams need to be here, though. Two of them still alive from the beginning of this game, so very, very nice micro from both players. Does lose one squad, which is crucial because now they can no longer, or it can now no longer bomb a power plant. Flame Tank destroying the spike over on the bottom. Seekers will intercept, though. Nice awareness from Shock Tripper. Gonna grab that one right there. And Shock Tripper doing pretty decent in this game. He's doing the right things. Is he going for the advanced articulate upgrade now? Yeah, he is. More deviators on the map. This is a pretty good map for those Devourer tanks. The only difference with those ones is that they can't charge. Seekers will be going down here. Oh my god, how embarrassing. You made buggies to counter the cultists, but it doesn't matter because they can just counter your buggies by taking them over. This can only garrison 3 units, though he probably should put the ones that the buggies are targeting inside of there. Nonetheless, this is really annoying for Lumos, having to kill his own units. Seekers in the back of the base as he's distracted on those cultists, tearing up all the harvesters, though the majority of the harvesters were transferred over to the expansion, but that's still pretty terrible. The cultists are not being dealt with. The cloaking field support power, which usually is a good idea in this situation to kill infantry, not going to be a thing at 1.03 because that does not affect enemy infantry anymore. It's only used to cloak units. And that's going to be a real menace. Cultists and dev tanks, man. This is just such a powerful combination because usually the cultists are exposed to buggies, but when you got those dev tanks which just insta-kill the buggies, how do you contend with these? The cultists, I feel, on this particular map would have, I mean, the Nod would have a hard time on this map, I reckon, just because of this combo here. Like, what do you do? Dev tanks, cultists, and the Scrun guy could even move his drone ship forward and place down AA turrets if he so desires, but that's just such an insane combo, man. I don't know how the Nod guy would beat that on that map. Just, yeah, I don't know. You guys leave down below in the comment section a suggestion for what the Lumos could have done in this game better, because I sure don't know. And yeah, Shock Tripper will bring this series back 1-1. So yeah, Lumos, I thought he had him there with that really sick Shadow Team micro. That's something you don't see too often. I really enjoyed that, but unfortunately, I feel that maybe imbalance there cost Shock Tripper the game. Lumos the game, but it's possible that he didn't do enough with the Shadow Teams. He's, after all, Tiberium Wars player, so probably overestimates the effectiveness of that in Kane's Wrath. Okay, guys, game number 3, which brings us to 6 City. So it's the first custom, unofficial map that we're seeing in this series. Lumos up here, retaining the Nod faction. He's going to be Vanilla Nod. 1-1 apiece for these guys. So the pressure is on. It is a best of 7, so there is plenty of wiggle room left. So it's basically a best of 5 now since they lost that game, both of them. So, wow, that drone ship looks really sick now with that new normal map I did. Yeah, I've been upscaling all of the textures. It has been a really tough challenge doing a lot of this stuff, but I'm happy to have done most of it now. Shock Tripper going to be Shroud 59 once again. Actually, no, there's no upgrade on his assimilators, so maybe picking Reaper. It would be very nice to see Reaper for a change. Scouting the left flank is Lumos, just so he doesn't get jumped by disintegrators, though there is one squad there, so that could maybe freak him out. More squads being produced. This is really it's unlikely to see just one squad, isn't it? There's more on the map. 2 over here. He should maybe conceal those and not show them to the enemy militants, though maybe he wants to anti-scout so he can do something else, like maybe he's going for a dev core rush. Devourers significantly better in this patch, as well as the heal rate of the Corruptors. So I reckon Aeonian would do good on this. After all, Aeonian did win the first 1.03 tournament that there was. He was pretty successful in the early stages of this patch, though there has been like a million changes since Aeonian has played it. Charles obviously contributing to a lot of the changes since. So I'm going to give this patch another shot, guys, and see if I like it or not. Because it's been a while since I last played it, and it's not really the same as it was. Of course, Blackhands still have the Venoms. One of Green Zero's major complaints. Anyway, Flame Tank on the right side was scouted by Shock. Wonder how he's going to deal with that. He's going to go for Seekers. He's going for Seekers, though he doesn't seem to be too aware of this. The bikes are putting the Seekers in. This is not really great, is it? I'm surprised that the Flame Tank is unscouted. This could be really bad news for Shock if he doesn't deal with this. The Seekers are well out of position. And this is terrible news as well for Shock, because he's just getting his portal camped here. And if he kills this portal and the Hive, then he'll be able to just evac that Reckoner. But the Flame Tank's gone in the back of the base, killing the Refinery. This is not a veteran Flame Tank, so the damage isn't really quite enough. What you should do is you should reverse the Flame Tank around the Refinery, just so it isn't in line of sight of all these Seekers. If the Refinery goes down here, that's a pretty sick amount of damage. The Flame Tank does go down, promotes to veteran. I think Lumos will be pretty happy about that. He's got an expansion on the left. So this guy knows what he's doing when he's ahead. He's going to eco and get further ahead. A second War Factory should be coming down here. Instead, no, deciding to plant down 8 barracks, as you can see. Also, I repainted all of the player color areas for these structures, so it's a lot neater than it was. Buzzer over there. The counterattack will be coming in. And these rocket squads, I gave more color indication as well, so you can see the on the cape there's more of that cyan showing, just so in team games you know, yeah, that guy is not that guy's rockets belongs to that player, which you really didn't know before, besides the cape of the Black Disciple, which was the only thing that gave you a clue as to who that squad belongs to. And that attack got nowhere as expected. Shock does get a Refinery down on his expansion, curiously. That's probably a bad idea, because you want to have full saturation on your first field first. And I think that Lumos is just going to skyrocket ahead now. The Seeker's going to be falling. It's going to be tough for Shock to come back here, though I don't know how good Lumos is in the late game. So far he's proven to be a formidable opponent. He's picking Nod though. Not sure if he can play the other factions yet in Kane's Route, but it's good to stick to one faction as you learn a game and then gradually, you know, move from there. And needs to say, but I have done the MCV for Nod. I've also repainted the Nod pattern on the MCV as well. So it was just a real mess when I did the upscale. Did a lot of things actually. And I'm glad that there's no crashing either. As long as you guys have the 4GB patch installed, you won't encounter any crashing issues. That's not really de-garrisoning that squad there. Okay, there we go. Now I feel that Shock needs to get some damage done, because he took significant damage. Though one thing has to be noted, Shock has been taking blue Tiberium this whole while. And he's actually recovering. Look at his eco, man. It's well ahead. How is he doing this? Lumos hasn't really done as good of a job at that. He hasn't been taking the blue Tiberium this whole while. Maybe he's just unfamiliar with this map, because of course it was Loser's pick, so he picked it after all, so he must know what it's about. Anyways, he's going to move in here with Scorpion tanks. That portrait of the Scorpion tank right there, guys. That's a million times better. This AI that I used for upscaling, man. Oh my god, it's so good. It was a paid service, but I'm so glad that I paid for it rather than do a half-assed job, which doesn't produce as good a results. This sort of project would not have been possible years ago. It simply wouldn't. The technology wasn't there. If you combine the AI with retouching, doing all these logos and decals, you know, straight lines, shapes, that sort of thing the AI struggles with, but damn, does it do a good job of some things, like photos. Tripods coming out though for Shock Triplet, as well as these Devastator warships. No anti-air. What you could do is get an air tower, get some beam cannons, man. For the reflective ability, that's one thing that you can really catch Scrin by surprise with. Laser fence only buffs your buildings by 10%, so this MCV is almost certainly going to die unless Lumos decides to pack this one up. But yeah, this isn't too good actually. This tripods versus Scorps here. I'm surprised that Shock Triplet brought this one back. I was not expecting this. The follow-up from Lumos, not that great. I don't know what happened, but his macro felt apart. He just didn't know what to do. Beam cannons is certainly a good choice, but he needed venoms. If he had venoms, he could have used the reflector beam, killed the Devastator warships and the packs, but he's going to throw in the tower here. And that's going to be 2-1-2 Shock Triplet. That's crazy. Despite losing the war factory and the refinery, the Lumos lost that game. I felt that was on a platter for him right there. He could have just sealed the game and had a 2-1 advantage. So that's probably going to tilt him for the rest of the series now. We're going to go see if Lumos can recover from that, because I would certainly be tilted by such a loss. Alright guys, it is 2-1 in favor of Shock Triplet, and I've decided I'm going to make this video have that quarterfinal and this semi-final, because the series are freaking huge. So we're going to have the finals in a separate video. It is a best of 9, so stay tuned for that. So whoever wins this series will go on to the grand final, and we're going to be casting that on a separate video. So on the bottom here we have the victor of the last game is going to be Shock Triplet. Lumos getting the map pick once again, as is always the case. Losers get to decide what map to play next, and he's going with Tournament Odyssey. So we're going to see if he has a particular strategy in mind for this map. Maybe Shock was a bit shaken, or shocked. No, shaken. He was shocked by the flame tank rush. So he's just going to go for GDI. He probably feels that he has a better shot at killing flame tanks with this faction. I don't blame him. Seeker's not that great at killing flame tanks, but I think he just needs to do a better job at scouting. I don't think Lumos will be as inclined to do a flame rush this time versus GDI. It is GDI, right? Yeah, it is GDI, because if it was still Talons, of course, flame rushing would be a foolish mistake. Buggy's coming out though for Lumos to anti-scout the... Oh, actually, who wins this fight? With the rifles in the Tiberium field taking tip exposure, seems like they still win. So there you go, guys. Rifles, pretty good. Nice cleaning up the scouts though. The Buggies tend to do a bit better now versus infantry, don't they? Expansion being established here for Shock, and I didn't really introduce formally Lumos. He's over here as the Cyan GDI, as he was the last game, and he's going to be up here with his MCV. MCV looking fine with that not 4K logo. The reason I'm showing these things off, guys, because I am rendering this video in 4K, so you get to see on your 4K TV or your 4K monitor all this glory here, all this detail. Because Kane Draft has aged magnificently over the years. Visually, I feel. Not a bad game for the era that it was released in. And imagine, guys, when we get an official remaster one day, which is probably never going to happen. That's why I decided to commit so much time to making this a thing. Bites coming out though for Lumos, looking to do a bit of damage down here, and we probably will not see a harvester going down unless Buggies are super Saiyan and they just kill infantry. You know, just slice through that infantry like hot butter. Maybe that's what CGF intended, but no, the infantry will kill the bikes, but the harvester goes down. Harvester's a little weaker than before. Damn, those buggies, man. They do seem really good against infantry. So, from what I can tell, CGF's made this into more of a hard counter against infantry. So he's removed what it did before, which was kill everything besides tanks. And now makes them kill just infantry. I guess he's intending for the bikes to kill air. These don't miss anymore, so bikes kill Storm Riders and Orcas, something they could not do without Tibcore previously. So from a design perspective, I think it's better. I mean, it's much more intuitive, right, having that than the previous situation where the bikes were useless against air, despite saying in the description that they're good versus air, which was clearly not the case. That doesn't help new players at all. I mean, new players will look at the bike, oh, strong versus aircraft? Oh, I won't make these versus vehicles because the game told me not to make them. But as it turns out, guys, if you're playing 1.02, bikes suck versus air, but are good versus harvesters and tanks when you decoy army them. So that just doesn't make sense. So I'm glad that CGF has done something to make it easier for new players to understand, because my goodness me, the counter system in Kane's Draft is just super weird on 1.02. Take hammerheads for example. They say strong versus infantry. Guys, they are strong versus structures. They are strong versus vehicles. They're just strong versus everything. You might as well just put that in the description. It is simply ridiculous. And you can even make them strong versus air if you augment them with the missile squad garrison. It just does take a little bit of effort, mind you, to garrison units. Something that I consider as an additional cost. You got the resource cost, and then you got the cost of making your missile squad and then clicking on the APC or hammerhead to get that unit in there. So that's something to consider. So this game has gone into sort of an eco game. Tech coming down for shock, going for the railguns. Hopefully Lumos is not going for Scorps, because that's going to fail horribly, I reckon, if he continues with this route. Hopefully he has also remembered to get Dozer Blades, because in Tiberium Wars this is a tier 3 upgrade. No flanking harassment for Lumos in the bottom of the map. Shock's just going to wait here until he gets the railguns. That's not really done soon, is it? That takes a minute 30 to research, so I guess that's the same as it was before. Scorpion tanks still the name of the game despite having the tier 3. I guess he was going for the laser capacitors, so we're going to expect that to be a thing soon. I'm not sure if Shock has scouts, but if he doesn't, what he could do is he could make a V35 box. Oh, this is pretty huge. Getting the laser scorps online before the railguns. I guess now's his chance to thin the enemy Pred army up as much as possible with his scorps. I consider that to be a major opportunity for him. He's well off from the railguns, man. I think that Lumos busted that one. He could have just gone in with his scorps, cleaned up the tanks. You know, he would have traded much more effectively. But against the railguns now, this may be an issue. Is he continuing to spam Scorpion tanks? Because if he is, he could just micro an additional group to attack the expansion of Shock. And since sonic emitters can miss, you could probably micro your tanks away. You know, you can tell where the sonic emitter is going to fire because it faces the direction it shoots. So you can just, you know, dodge sonic emitter shots if your micro is good enough. So far, Lumos has demonstrated that he's capable when it comes to micro. No upgrades on his infantry. He's also abandoned his Tiberium field as well for who knows why. Why is he doing this? He's losing his base here. There's Pred tanks unopposed over here. He's what is he doing, man? There's 2 stealth tanks killing harvesters here. That's pretty bad news. Hopefully he's microing those away. Yeah, he is. Does he have tip core for those? No, he doesn't. This attack will probably get cleaned up though, despite the huge Scorpion tank army retreating for a couple tanks. That was a questionable decision, but hey, he did a great job killing those harvesters with the stealth tank, so can't really criticize him there. Lumos also grabbing the defensive tower as well. Though Lumos has just lost his expansion, which is a pretty big deal. Not working on another one either. Infantry probably could do with the upgrades. Those stealth tanks causing problems still. There is railguns, not enough of them though. And these are, for all you guys asking, the Kane Edition skins. These are skins that are in the... by the way, I probably didn't put the Kane Edition damage skin in there, so that's why they changed textures like that. But, yeah, these Pred tanks, they were good, but I don't know where it went wrong for him. It's funny, right? I didn't expect that to happen with the railguns. I thought that the Scorps were just going to get totally annihilated, but I didn't account for the damage buff that the Scorps received. So I really can't commentate on Scorp versus Pred balance. But it does seem like the DPS of the Scorp is pretty sizable. The stealth tank harass has been amazing from Lumos. There's a harvest here if he's paying attention. Could snipe that one if he so desires. There's one Pred tank that he may want to just kill first. You know, attack it from the rear. I would do that myself. This tower hasn't been grabbed for shock triplet. Something to consider maybe later. AP ammo towers. Those will get cleaned up. Could sell them off to get the rifle squad. There's no confessors. So once the militants are dealt with, these are pretty much dead meat versus rifles with AP ammo. Venoms for Lumos over here. You can see those Venoms with the 4K skins on them. Of course, you can only really see when zoomed in massively the difference. But there is a difference you will notice when you just play the game. And I think, despite everything, oh, I don't think he's aware. Well, actually, those Pred tanks, man, not getting nearly as much damage done as I thought originally. Where are the Scorpions? Did he lose them? I didn't really pay attention to that, man, but wow, how did he lose those tanks? Shock Tripper's still alive in this game. He still retains infrastructure. There's just a bunch of infantry to kill. I wouldn't engage though before the... Oh, there's a couple of rifles here which could get dispatched relatively quickly by the Venoms. Venoms sweeping in, killing all of those rifle squads. Gonna make short work of that. And those AA batteries, probably not a good idea staying in range of those forever. Rifle squads still being made. Confessors, if he's got the tier 3, he could call in the redemption support power. He's got his tier 3 man, so he could just do that. Though there is a bunch of tanks which probably will overrun this anyways. Expansion, eco being recovered. Not sure what happened to his tanks, but the Venoms are also pulling back to base. Could probably catch a couple of these units on the retreat, though. Yeah, he should probably stand and fight Lumos. He's not going to do anything otherwise. Those APCs are getting thinned relatively quickly. Pred tanks could attempt to crush this, but it's probably a bit dire, I would say. If all those APCs go down, then it's just really infantry micro that will prevail. Obelisk to defend the tier 3. That's good for him. Infantry come out ahead. Man, I don't know how to read these situations anymore. The stats have been changed so much. Scorpion tanks doing a flanking raid around the back. Gonna destroy the tier 2 with it. Will probably stop tier 3 from being made. There's definitely... it's not the end of the world losing the tier 3 though for Shock, because there is railguns for him, so he could just spam Scorpion Predators. He can go for Orcas though because of the Venoms, so he's kind of locked into Pred spam. And that's an issue because Scorps, when in mass, can overrun slower tanks. GDI relies on aircraft to make up for the lack of mobility on the ground. So if you can't do air versus nod, it's an issue. Let's just say. That's why people go for Pit Hammerhead, because the Pits kill the Venoms and the Hammerheads kill everything else. Stealth tanks coming back once again. This is a really good strategy. I like what Lumos is doing with these stealth tank harassments. He's put, what's his name? Shock Tripper's probably not going to expect this either. Airfield coming down. Not sure if this inhibits Tiberium growth, putting your structures in the Tib field. But there is triple ref here for Shock, I guess, because of the cheaper refineries. He feels, okay, it's probably worth doing this. The Tib Wars players probably are not too shabby on this patch for that reason. The eco is much more flexible. Harvester's going down here, nice work. I would get a couple zone troopers out if I were Shock, though he is without a tier 3, so that's unfortunate. He's going to have to rely on Orcas for stealth detection, or he could go for Pipples for stealth detection, or you could make an Orca and go for sensor pods, put a couple sensor pods on his structures. Venoms can't clear those. Hammerheads are the name of the game though. However, there's an issue with Hammerheads, as mentioned before. Lumos could just sweep in, trade versus the Hammerheads. He's probably okay losing a couple of Venoms because he's trading versus a more expensive unit. The Pred tanks will clean up the rest, and that's going to be GG. Shock Tripper loses that game, and it's going to be 2-2 for these guys. So wow, what a close series so far. It's a best of 7, mind you, but it's 2-2 for either one. So it's effectively a best of 3 now. And these guys seem incredibly well matched. So I'm glad that I caught this series, because I am interested to see how these guys take on this patch coming from Tiberium Wars. So those guys have more experience than the likes of me, who have religiously played a single patch for so many years. So yeah, it's interesting, and also a breath of fresh air seeing new playstyles. So we're gonna go to the next game. Alright guys, we're back, and it is 2-2 for these guys in a pretty close and intense series. Anyways, I don't expect these guys will have shaken it up. Lumos, he seems to be pretty confident with his nod. He's gonna be over here as Blackhand on Atacama Road. This is Shock Tripper's map pick. One of the better maps that Technique made. I really love this map, all these C&C3 models that he imported. He did a great job with this map. A lot of time and effort put into this. Shock Tripper going to be over here though as the, let me check his portal real quick, Reaper 17, a faction we haven't seen so far. And that drone ship, man, just looks stunning to me. I love how it looks now. It's not ugly at 4K anymore. 1080p probably won't notice much of a difference, but yeah. It is going to be Blackhand versus Reaper 17. Reaper 17, I would imagine, struggle versus Blackhand infantry because they don't have Devastator warships, nor do they have face crushing with their shard walkers. So I guess he has to rely on Ravagers. Ravagers with blue shards would be a very interesting unit to try out. I don't think we've ever seen blue shard Ravagers in the history of Kane's Wrath. It's one of those things that we just have not seen. So maybe CGF has made those useful. Nonetheless though, is there going to be any flame rush, or is this going to be a standard eco game? It's going to be a dual Reckoner rush, I assume, unless he cancelled his Reckoner by accident. He sells an operations center but doesn't make a Reckoner. Okay. Wow, so he just cancelled his Reckoner by accident. Man, that reminds me of that time I played versus Bike Rush in the grand finals of the 1.03 tournament. I cancelled my shrine and I just quit the game after. That thing happens to all of us. Unfortunate, man, unfortunate. There should be a rule. Well, actually, I don't think there should be a rule where people are allowed to have another shot if they screw up like that. But, you know, for us casting, it's nice to see a proper match. Unfortunately, Lumos, you know, the score is 3-2 for Shock now. So Shock's now match point. He did nothing that game and he won. So, unfortunate. Alright guys, and welcome back to game number 6, which brings us to Tournament Highlands. And over on the left hand side we can see playing as the red Nod faction is going to be Shock Tripper. And he's going to be a vanilla Nod in this game. And on the right hand side we can see Lumos, who probably is mega tilted by that last game, as well as Six City. I felt there was many chances in this series that he could have, you know, made the score more in his favor, but he's going to be treading from behind at the moment. He's down 2-3, so he has to win the next 2 games to take this series. There's no more room for error. He's going to be GDI. Actually, he's going to be Zocom, and he must have picked random. Anyway, Nod versus Zocom, a terrible matchup for this map because the middle field needs to be contested and you can wager money on it. There's going to be multi-MCV coming out of Shock Tripper over here. He's going to go for multi-MCV. He's going to spam these MCVs and he's going to just plant down SAM turrets and Shredder turrets. How does Zocom contend with that, guys? Well, they can go for Zocom Orcas, which is an option. Go for those Zocom Orcas and try and get some damage done before it goes into the mega late game with the camping. Doesn't look like there's any rushing coming out from the Russian Shock Tripper. None of that coming. Just going to be a standard eco game. I think he's probably happy about the matchup. If I were Lumos over here, I would be deeply considering some sort of cheese currently. I think Shock Tripper knows that if Lumos is to win this game, there has to be some sort of early game shenanigans coming out, like a rig rush. And by the way, there is a way to stop the MCV from being stuck by an enemy buggy who, I mean, all you have to do is just reverse move the MCV. If you reverse move the moving MCV, it will not get stuck on a buggy, so that's how you counter that. Foxhole over here though for Lumos. He's going to keep tabs on this War Factory. He can just pop out, see what's going on. No double War Factory for Shock. He's going to be over here expanding with his MCV. Nice reviving placement though, Lumos. Very reminiscent of my own, which isn't a compliment. It's actually not a good, it's going to probably affect him quite a bit. Shock Tripper on the other hand, he knows what's up. He's putting his refinery down correctly. That single radar buggy that delayed the MCV caused this to happen. Pretty crazy, right? So infantry is the name of the game. Triple ref barracks, not a bad choice. I agree with this. Maybe we can go for a couple APCs, garrison those rockets. But maybe infantry is a good option after all, because cloaking field doesn't kill them. I was watching my game versus Space and that epic game on Crater where he got a heroic Marv, and I realized I killed so many of Space's army with that cloaking field power. It's pretty cheap for Nod, I will admit. But Shock, he's just going to chill over here. He's going to go for probably stack a load of bikes up and then go for Tib Core, as I see him doing there. Lumos, he's going to spam a bunch of pitbulls. Didn't really keep tabs of who's taken the blue Tiberium, but there was no contest. Nobody really contested that. Bikes will meet pitbulls. I will probably tip it to the pitbulls winning. They're just in so much more force currently. He will get wind of this though with the garrisonable structure. So Shock Tripper knows of what's coming. Is there aircraft following up from this? I don't know how experienced Lumos is with the GDIs. We've seen him play mostly Nods up until now, so not sure if this was a mistake by him, but yeah, this is the first time that we're seeing him playing as the GDI, I assume. So we're just going to hover over it so we see that he's Lumos. Yeah, of course. These guys have picked the same color every match, which is helpful for me when I'm editing the scoreboard. Bikes are going to try and intercept a harvester in the bottom. Probably will not find any though. Those rocket squads, damn, those move really quickly as well. I even noticed the legs moving quicker as well, so seems like the animation is also sped up. MCB probably will be destroyed if Lumos is not looking. Does lose his MCB immediately. Damn, that is very unfortunate. Is Shock aware of this? He's going for the MCB now. Man, that was super duper unfortunate. Lumos probably, again from that last game, got tilted. One click's coming down. gets the refinery, actually for some reason doesn't kill it. I reckon if you do a direct hit, that does happen. Pibbles going down to the tip vein. That's basically all of Lumos's army. Tech is down though for Lumos. I've removed the orange stripes from that as well, so you won't see any bleeding from that. And there's a power plant as well. Put new GDI decals on everything that has it. Oh, purifiers, yeah, there we go. Pretty cool units. Actually, no, this is not a purifier, it's a freaking avatar. He's fully upgraded it, man. What? He's got the freaking the bike attachment as well. Shock's just trying to be cool here, man. Rarely do you see fully heroic avatar. I remember one game observing against Unleashed, and he just made one of these, just snuck it around the enemy base. Got it to heroic with a flamethrower, and it was just popping tanks because it had a dual beam. And that does so much damage. I think CGFs gave it even more love as well. All the garrisons have been, all the attachments have been increased in effectiveness. And those units are going to get destroyed. There's really nothing to contend with that. I think Lumos is going to lose this game, which is unfortunate. That last game he probably got tilted from. He's going to try and get a few kills here with his Pibbles. Does get the mortar upgrade, which is somewhat of a soft countered infantry. You know, sometimes you can get a bit too overconfident about defending your natural with infantry, but then you come across Pibbles which, you know, weren't effective before, but now with the mortars just suddenly kill your infantry. If I were Shock, I would just move forward with these avatars, man, because they've all got flamethrowers on them. Those watchtowers will get destroyed easily. But, you know, he's just not going to chance it, because if he loses those avatars somehow, he's just going to give the husks over. And these are, of course, fully upgraded Zircon infantry. Those avatars wrecking havoc now on the base. We're going to see all of this infantry be destroyed, as well as the MCB. And Lumos falls. So Shock Trepid is our victor in the semi-finals here, and he will go on to play Drive. Now, I didn't cast the other series because I wasn't convinced that there was, I think there was a stack in the tournament, so I didn't bother with that. But yeah, it's going to be Shock versus Drive in the finals. Hope you all enjoyed this cast of the quarters and the semi-finals. I will be bringing you all the grand finals after this, so hope you all enjoy this series, and yes, stay tuned to the grand final, because I'm going to bring that probably a day or two after I post the previous series or this series. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed that. Anyways, this has been Master Leaf. Peace out.